Ladies and gentlemen, good day, and welcome to Investor Conference Call of Cigniti Technologies Limited to discuss the Q3 and 9-month FY21 results. Today we have with us from the management, Mr. Sreekanth Chakhilam, Chief Executive Officer and Non-Executive Director, and Mr. Krishnan Venkatachari, Chief Financial Officer. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Snighter Albuquerque from Adfactors. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Neerav. Very good afternoon to everyone. Before the call, we would like to point out that certain statements made in today's call may be forward-looking in nature, and a disclaimer to this effect has been included in the earnings presentation shared with you earlier. The investor call may contain forward-looking statements based on the currently held beliefs and assumptions of the management of the company, which are expressed in good faith and, in their opinion, reasonable. Forward-looking statements involve known and unknown risks, uncertainties, and other factors which may cause the actual results, financial condition, performance, or achievements of the company or industry results to differ materially from the results, financial condition, performance, or achievements expressed or implied by such forward-looking statements. The risks and uncertainties relating to these statements include, but are not limited to, risks of expansion plans, benefit from fluctuations in our earnings, our ability to manage growth and implement strategies, competition in our business, including those factors which may affect our cost advantage, wage increases in India, our ability to attract and retain highly skilled professionals, and our ability to win new contracts, changes in technology, availability of financing, our ability to successfully compete and integrate our expansion plans, liabilities, political instability, and general economic conditions affecting our industry. Unless otherwise indicated, the information contained herein is preliminary, indicative, and is based on management information, current plans, and estimates. Thank you. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Sreekanth Chakhilam for his opening remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Snighter. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the investor con call of Q3 of 2020-2021. I would like to mention some important highlights and events of Q3. We hired Mr. Ganesh Ramamurthy as the Chief Revenue Officer of the company. His roles and responsibilities include the acceleration of revenue for the company and improving the quality of revenue through better quality deals, higher yield per account, and work in the relevant service offerings of digital transformation. We believe this move is important for the next phase of journey for Cigniti, where we are pivoting into a digital assurance company from a quality engineering company. Some key highlights in terms of new wins are Dubai Gold and Commodities Exchange, where we are giving end-to-end services on quality engineering. Toyota Motor Corporation Australia, MedDecision, and 2 other Fortune 500 logos in the healthcare space. Specific to healthcare, and it's in the medical device testing space, where we have seen quite a bit of traction since the COVID-19 pandemic has started. While our overall dependency on the TTH has come down from 27% to 16%, other areas such as healthcare, BFSI, and ISVs have improved and made up for the lost revenues. So we see traction in healthcare, financial services, and there are some green shoots in telecom, although it's in the initial stages, and we will keep you updated on the progress. While COVID-19 pandemic seems to be normalizing in some parts of the world, there have been second lockdowns in parts of Europe, and that has made it difficult for our client base, especially the airlines and airports that we deal with in the European sector. And it has made it difficult for our client base to recover in those places, and budget visibility is still an issue for customers, and recovery is quite slow. So we do not expect travel and hospitality sector to revive immediately, and we are assessing it on a regular basis. In the interim, I think we have been able to get a lot of traction in the medical devices and ISP space, where we think we will definitely build momentum on. And another good news in the quarter was that we were positioned in the Gartner Magic Quadrant again for the 5th consecutive year as a niche player for software testing services, which validates our credibility among clients. This quarter, the revenues stand at 223.9 crores, which is a slight uptick from the last quarter, and EBITDA at 14.3%. And the drop from the previous quarter will be elucidated shortly by the CFO. We expect the financial year to end at around the same level as last year, about variance of plus or minus 1%. And lastly, before I hand over the floor to Krishnan, the upcoming year will be a year of investment for Cigniti to aim for higher growth and be more relevant in the IT landscape as we pivot into a digital assurance company and subsequently a digital transformation company. We intend to create momentum on business through investments in deal advisory, partnerships and alliances, offering-led sales, and improving yield through investments in client partners and engagements for our top 40 accounts. So with that said, I will hand over the call to Krishnan to talk more specifics on the numbers.
Yeah. Thank you, Srikanth, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for logging in. And the quarter has been pretty flat for us. We are consciously aware of the numbers in terms of where we are. To just explain, we have done a dollar revenue, $30.49 million as against $30.13, an increase in terms of rupee by about 1.2% in terms of moving from 221.2 crores to 223.9 crores. The reduction in EBITDA predominantly contributed by about 12 crores in terms of a reversal of the salary cut which we enforced on the first 6 months. We saw that as an investment back into the people, because with working from home being a norm, we do not want to lose out on the people which are especially critical for us. So we have reversed and rewarded them back very clearly in terms of reversing the salaries, which is an investment. Apart from that, we have added about net addition of about 98 people during the quarter, out of which 42 people the billing was supposed to have commenced and got delayed, and the billing has commenced from 1st of January in terms of these contracts. And we are on a 9-month basis, which is a more ideal comparison for us. Basically, on a 90 million to 90 million comparison where we are when we started the year, we had a contribution of 28%, 27-28% coming from travel and hospitality, which dropped down to 16% in the current composition very clearly. So while we anticipated that in this 90 million, which means the differential of about 12% is about close to 11 million, it has been already pumped in with the new initiatives, pumped in with new sectors like retail and healthcare contributing in a big way, as the current segment of travel is only 16%. So we have consciously pulled back in terms of the other sectors through mining, and then winning about close to, in the 9-month period, we have added about close to 38 clients, and then the quarter has also been healthy in terms of about 15 clients. And so that is one of the reasons we have moved ahead. Comparing to the last year to this year we are on a full-blown taxation comparing to what it was with all concessions which is completed over the last year. We have generated a good amount of cash flow for the quarter, and overall for the 9 months we have generated, which I'm sure we have the cash flow with you all in terms of about close to 133 crores. And our receivable days have been pretty good even this quarter, continuingly over the last 9 months. Except for the first 2 months, I think we are still hovering at about 52 days, and which is a healthy comparable metrics. In terms of the debt, we have completely become a zero-debt company. The working capital or any kind of cash credit limit is not utilized. We are surplus on funds, and the overall surplus funds are about close to 187 crores or so, where investments have been made in mutual funds and bonds and free cash flow, and also the entire annualized yield for the mutual fund and bond investments have been in the range of about 7%, as it is managed effectively by Avendus Capital. And our top 20 has not changed in terms of the composition, both in terms of the clients, both in terms of the contributions have moved up marginally in terms of contribution, about close to 51% coming from the top 20 clients. And we are using this as an opportunity where with travel and other costs not coming through, trying to reinvest back into business with a lot of initiatives in terms of marketing and other spend, which is also one of the contributions close to about 4 to 5 crores of investments which we have done, which was necessitated for us to get into a few of the partnership and alliances events. The client service has been at about 206, and we are pretty happy with that in terms of the client service, because we're trying to get into low client and high volume addition very clearly, and that has been a healthy factor. Our utilization levels have improved. We have moved from 77% utilization in offshore to close to 81% uptick, and also on the on-site, we have more or less remained stable at about 94%. And our billing rate has marginally come down on offshore is one of the reasons, because of the discounts which has been necessitated for 1 year with the clients in a marginal way. However, the on-site rates have compensated and improved. The effort mix more or less remains stagnant at about close to, on the manpower basis, at about 27 to 73. Top 20 continues to contribute in a big way, and there is no ranging on the contribution. The additional factor is that other than US, the rest of the countries where we have been claiming a small amount of grants, there has been a reduction in the grants about close to about 150K comparing to the previous quarter, which is one of the reasons probably the differentials in terms of where we are, what we are, it has come to. But as it stands today, we are pretty confident that as we don't give any kind of a guidance, but I think we are pretty confident that as we started the year, comparing to last year, this year is a year of base where we thought that we will be doing plus or minus 2% comparing to what it was previous year, both in terms of revenue and probably profitability also, minus the other income, because which had various factors like software export incentives. Everything was available up until last year, and that sizable chunk is moved out this year. And with a full-blown taxation, still we'll be in a better off position to be at about plus or minus 2%. I mean, not though cognizant of the quarter numbers, but I think on a comparable, just as a single line offering industry, we are pretty confident that for the year that we have done a very good consolidation. And we have used this opportunity, and a lot of initiatives have been taken in terms of enhancing our offerings, working around and beyond testing, and then laying a roadmap in the next 4 years to become a player who is more commendable in terms of a digital transformation journey. And we've used this opportunity and geared up the team completely to invest on these areas clearly. And we are confident that we are marching on a good path, and the results will be seen in the coming quarter, and also the subsequent year to come, where we have a very good amount of visibility. As we start the year, probably as it stands today, the order book position, what we are commencing with about close to 108 million in terms of billability due between April and March of next year. But we have almost another 2 months for me to really close. So we are pretty confident that we are on a good path for a high double-digit moving forward growth, but optimistic about it. And with these few words, probably I leave the forum open for the question and answer session, and we'll be more than happy to really address all the questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question, you may press star and 1 on your touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Participants, you may press star and 1 to ask the question. The first question is from the line of Akanksha from Shah and Jain Broker. Please go ahead.
When can we expect a dividend distribution?
The board is actively reviewing every quarter. We are cash surplus, and we have also become on a standalone basis, which is what is considered. We have wiped out all the losses, and we have become revenue surplus over the last quarter and this quarter. And as per the law, where we have to look at in terms of an audited results to come through, probably, I think board will take an appropriate decision in the coming quarter, definitely.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Tejpal Jain from Fuji Investments. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. Good evening, everyone, and very happy New Year to all. My question was regarding the customer. What are the customer trends? Like, what is the outlook going forward? Because a lot of industries, manufacturing industries and others are moving towards digitalization. So with that respect, how do you look at our industry outlook, basically?
Sure. So, our exposure to the manufacturing industry at this point is comparatively lower as compared to other benchmarks that you may be looking at. But the sectors that we are dealing with, healthcare, especially in the medical devices space, we're seeing a lot of boom there, and a lot of digitalization boom there. And we have basically the number of deals that we have won in the last 9 months, majority of them come from the healthcare and medical devices space. Secondly, banking and financial services is also looking positive with many banks. We already have a great case study in terms of digital bank, which we're trying to leverage to create an open banking digital service offering. And thirdly, retail is also one area where we are seeing a lot of the trend seems very positive, given that people have moved a lot towards online shopping than the years before.
Okay. So my next question would be related to the same. So have we envisioned any plan, or let's say, have we strategized anything to accommodate, because COVID was a very longer period. It was almost majority of 2020. It impacted and all, and there are as per our reading with the industry overview and the reports and all that stuff, lot of non-traditional industry, lot of industry which were initially were not on the digital radar, right, have started looking to digitalize their business model so that they can be more competitive. So the industry could be across, like the industry that you have named has been traditionally I mean, so they were on a digital phase. They were already had an infrastructure, basically. So which are those 2 or 3 industries which you look at where they have come in and shown interest towards moving on the other side, and how you strategize garnering orders from there, or let's say?
Sure. So there are 2 perspectives to it. One is play in an area where there is a lot of new opportunity, like what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. The other one is play in the areas where you have strength and where there is a lot of strength. So that the second one is our strategy. So we earlier, I would say prior to 2020 April, we were positioning ourselves as a vertical agnostic company. But now we are very, very focused in terms of verticals that we want to go after only 3 or 4 verticals, 4 verticals to be precise, and lay our bets there than going after areas where we do not have strength. So we are building offerings in BFSI space. We are building offerings in the medical devices space. Last time around, I mentioned about our offerings in the 5G space. 5G, of course, we are categorizing it into technology than telecom. And of course, retail. So these are the only 4 that we'll be going after. And we don't have to go after new clients. We already have a lot of existing clients. Now, the important thing is to make the investments, roll out the offerings, roll out additional offerings, create depth in our service offerings. That is what we are trying to do to get more yield out of our more realization per account than going after new accounts.
Okay. Okay. And you must, on a competitive landscape perspective, are you facing competition on that side from new players, from new entrant startups?
I didn't get your question. We generally compete with industry leaders in most of the RFPs. There's nothing that has changed from that perspective.
Just to answer,
I'm coming from the perspective that because of business continuity issue during the last 1 year, most of the CTOs would be looking at reconsidering their budgets and all. There would be two strategic critical things that they have to look into.
Standpoint.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. From that standpoint, it is industry specific. Some places we have faced immense pressure on price due to budget cuts and other things that you have mentioned. Their strategy has been to try and see if we can get an exclusivity because we're offering discount and hopefully try and catch up later with other service offerings. And there are areas where we have proactively gone to clients and push the revenue from on-site to offshore just to ensure that we are showing the required cost value to the clients. So both of those things have happened. But yes, there are areas where we have faced pressure, especially in the travel and hospitality sector.
The phenomena, what has been, just to add to what Srikanth said in terms of point, is basically, I don't think that CIOs or CTOs are preferring startups to really go ahead for that. Rather, they look at established players, and we also get competition only from the established players, and as we are established. So the only reason where it comes basically is that, one, they ask for more of a discounts on the pricing in terms of the budget, and we try to look at for longevity very clearly. So there becomes an arbitrage where with respect to the price and longevity is what we have seen as a trend. But I think over the last 2 months, what we are seeing, I think the trend has been moving out where people have started coming back to normalcy, and then the things are looking up. Still some more time to go, but I think it's a win-win where we are trying to arbitrage out.
Okay. Okay. And the last question was, can we expect dividend next year?
I just answered that we have become eligible for the dividend basically this year, and especially post the last quarter results. And it is just that the board is actively considering, and definitely board will take a call because our next quarter should be completing quickly, and the board will take a call on that. We have become eligible, and overall, I think the board is positive on this outlook very clearly. Okay. I won't be able to comment beyond this. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot. That's it from my side. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Devang Karani from Karani Spices. Please go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Sir, where are we how are we looking to generate more revenue, sir? Because our revenue has been constant for about 3 years now.
Correct.
Because year on year, even this year, we are more or less expected to end flat. So how do we increase the revenue going ahead, sir? You said more realization is something that you just mentioned with the earlier gentleman, but that is not coming into the numbers, sir. That is not turning out into the numbers.
Yeah, you're right. So just to give you a perspective, last year, the JFM quarter, we sort of generated good growth, and we were on track to create higher growth for the year. Of course, COVID hit, and I don't want to take it as an excuse, but we had significant exposure to travel and hospitality, and we had this job of not only retaining the current account profile that we have, but also make up for what was lost in the Q1, where we had immense amount of churn just because of our exposure to travel and hospitality. But having said that, we have use the COVID period to look inside and see how we can generate more out of what we have. The current strength of the company is that we are able to open a lot of Fortune 500 accounts. So we have a great client base. Now the important thing is to create more offerings. Right now, our offerings are limited to quality engineering, testing, test automation, and things of that around that portfolio. But now we have started working on adjacencies such as RPA, cybersecurity, and DevOps. So we have already started seeing some traction on that front, and we need to expand our portfolio of offerings around these services to generate more revenue for the company. It is, I would say, 18 months journey from here on. But to do that, we've already made the first move. In terms of our intent, we've hired a chief revenue officer who's solely responsible for accelerating revenue for the company and help us pivot into that digital assurance that I was talking about. The second thing that we have started doing, already we started making investments, is building this offerings layer, an offering service management layer, to start creating these offerings, rolling out these offerings quickly and taking them to the existing portfolio that we have, which is, we have 206 accounts, and out of which our focus is really on the top 70, top 80. And that I think, that focus I think will surely create the required momentum that all of us are aspiring for.
Also, just to add a point, gentlemen, is that it's not for anything, just supporting the performance, but I think I would like to draw back very clearly in terms of certain mathematical numbers. We were at about $11 million run rate in the last March, and 11.2, which would have definitely taken us out of to a very good number in terms of comparing to the previous years of 123 million to easily growth up to about 140 million, say about 15 to 18%. Unfortunately, we'll have to understand the line of business. One, testing QA and QE as a business only, and two, in terms of exposure being on the travel and other side, there was an immediate press of panic of button in terms of the first 2 months. While we had a good order book position, but basically after all the reconciliations done, basically we started the year with about 85 million. And from 85 million, we have filled the bucket and we are filling it up close to about 35 million, bringing it up to back to the desired levels where it was on a run flat basis. But in the process, what we have done basically is that we'll let go incentives. We have taxed it fully. At the same time, we have also invested back into the business very clearly, knowing very well that we are prepared to take up, touch wood, no other pandemic comes, but any kind of other eventualities, by trying to broad base the business in terms of laying a 4-year plan as through one, increasing the business as it is, increasing the offerings, and working around and beyond the testing in terms of getting through. So we are confident that the effort what we are making should start showing the effect in a partial basis on way from quarter. But I think moving forward, probably the next 4 years is going to be a buoyant period, and we are optimistic and confident as I told you, as we are commencing the year with about 108 million of order book, we are pretty confident on that. So to answer your question, when it will start reflecting, I think effective April, May, June quarter, you can start seeing the numbers flowing in a systematic way.
Okay, and this means the margins in new business will be similar to the existing business or higher, or which direction would it be towards, sir?
Always the efforts and persuasion shall be to realize a better margin. I think today the whole year, probably if you look at 9 months, probably we are at about close to 17%, which itself is a notch higher comparing to what it was in the last year. Partially due to a little bit of spending not being done on non-core expenditure, which is again being reinvested back into the business. But we are optimistic to really go north of this 17 in the moving forward period is what is an endeavor, but I don't think we will definitely be specifically pinpointing and commenting clearly what it is. But I think the endeavor has always been very clearly to up the thing, and especially the newer offerings what we are giving will realize us at a much, much better rate, definitely, because these are going to be stalwart offerings which is coming ahead. Yeah.
And other things, sir, are you anytime wanting to write off the goodwill that you have on the books, sir?
Goodwill on the books. See, goodwill on the books is goodwill has been created about close to 50 crores, what you're talking, has been systematic. That's an accounting which is preventing me from writing off basically because there has been, why I have not impaired basically is that it's a continuing business which is running from Signity Inc. which I have taken over. So since there is a continuity of the business which is coming through, definitely we have kept it. But I think we do an impairment testing on an independent basis for this, and E&Y does that review independently through an independent agency. But I think we shouldn't be much worried on that basically because as we start getting magnified out in a couple of years, probably we can knock that out from the books in terms of where we are, what we are. So it is insignificant. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Satya, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. If I remember correctly, your opening remarks that we will be closing this year with the same 1 or plus or minus 1% on revenues and profit of last year. Can you reconfirm that?
Revenue, yes. Profitability minus the other income.
Okay. My second question is that, you also informed that, your projected growth for from next year onwards are going to be higher teens in terms of the revenue growth. Can you reconfirm that too, please?
Yeah, we are optimistic very clearly. We don't give any guidance, but I think we are optimistic on those lines.
Okay. Is there any buyback plan within this financial year you are thinking?
As it now stands, basically, it is the board's prerogative in terms of looking at these aspects. While the investments in the business has been cleared out by the board now to start moving up, I think we'll come back appropriately to the market as and when the board decides.
Okay. Considering that you are moving into some other offering, do you plan to have any acquisitions for some niche segments, whichever you are planning to diversify?
We always keep a ear to the ground on that front, but we can neither confirm or deny that we will do an acquisition.
Okay, sir. Thank you. That's it, my question.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. Next question is from the line of Akansha from Shah and Jain Broker. Please go ahead.
Are we looking at fund deployment in financial year 22?
Fund deployment in financial year 22 in terms of what are the types you are looking at, Akansha? Hello?
So the line for the participant dropped. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, anyone who wishes to ask a question, you may press star and 1. Anyone who wishes to ask a question, you may press star and 1. Participants, you may press star and 1 to ask the question. The next question is from the line of Satya, individual investor. Please go ahead.
One more additional question, sir. We have been telling for last 2-3 years there is a huge scope for testing. Are we feeling that testing area is drying out? That's why we are looking at digital other offerings, which is a very competitive space and in which multiple players are there.
Yeah. So one of the things post-COVID So pre-COVID, of course, we were buoyant about the whole industry, but post-COVID, the trends have sort of changed in terms of vendor consolidation, in terms of this one offering line versus somebody able to offer more for less. I think that is taking precedence, and with that trend that we have observed, I think that is where the other offerings has culminated. And it is also an opportunity for us to expand because we've already done the hard work in terms of landing new accounts, landing good logos. So it makes good sense for us to try and go beyond what we're doing today.
And also changing and adapting to the market needs and to the conditions is essential at some point, especially given the kind of a pandemic what we have seen. So that is what every player is trying to do, while the vendor is trying to consolidate, while the customer is trying to look at it. So equipping myself with a complete set of qualifications and then applying it across in a niche area is always a welcome move, very clearly. And we need to be balance out the business, anticipating the unknown variable.
But are the deals drying out? No, the deals are not drying out. But is there an opportunity to do more? Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the detailed explanation, and all the best for the ventures.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Akansha from Shine Jain Brokers. Please go ahead.
Hi, sorry, the cut off. Are we looking at fund deployment in the financial year 2022 in terms of business segment?
In terms of business segment is what is the question? Am I right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I think investment in the business segment in terms of expanding our business segment will be a continuous process. Even this year we have done that in terms of adding to enhance our offerings. And as Srikanth mentioned earlier as well, as that we have building our capabilities in terms of the digital transformation for making it enablement for the clients, I think, in a big way. So that is a part of the investment. But I think to be very specific to the question, if these investments are made, are they going to be amortized? Are they going to be carried forward in terms of tapping the revenue potential and then depreciating it out? No, we don't intend to do that. We have a specified, very clear mandate in terms of what we are going to deploy out within the means available, redeployment, but it will be absorbed during the year in the books during the quarter. And we will continue to reap the benefits out of that over a period of time. But I think we will be investing on a continual basis with a specified cap, and then which will also be absorbed during the quarter in which it is being spent. Am I clear on that?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. Anyone who wishes to ask a question, you may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Devang Karani from Karani Spices. Please go ahead.
Sir, Devang again. Sir, the entire software testing as a industry is about $40 billion industry, and we are a very small size. The turnover which we cater to is very limited, sir. So why are we not able to get more market share in such a huge industry? See, going into a newer industry is always welcome. We could any which ways do it, but we were we are in the magic quadrant in the Gartner's book for 5 consecutive years because of our niche in the software testing business. And when the industry is so big, why are we still why are we diversifying at this point?
Sure. So, if you just put your question in context, it seems it seems valid and fair, but there are industry dynamics such as when larger players who have a lot of muscle in terms of cash and people, they have the ability to downplay the sector quite dramatically. So you also have to consider those pressures in terms of trying to make new offerings. So one example that I can quote, for example, one very large US-based coffee chain. When they started off, they said, we want to be the coffee authority of the world. And they don't want to offer anything else. They only want to sell coffee. But the reality is, when people go for a coffee, they also want some snack. They want some pastry or some samosa or whatever, And, people have an opportunity to get both of them at another place. And this particular company has no choice but to offer what the other person is offering, yet not lose their positioning on what they are. The company is still known as a coffee authority of the world. So we are also setting off in a similar direction that we don't want to lose our positioning as as a quality engineering player, but we just want to graduate to a digital assurance player where we are doing digital transformation work along with what we are already good at. And we are not diversifying into a new industry. It is, just an adjacency to what we are already doing. For example, we do test automation. We are getting into RPA, which is process automation. We are doing security testing. We are offering end-to-end cyber security. So it's not really starkly different. It's not dramatically different. It is just that we now have a little more to do than what we already are doing.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Finally, it brings in a lot of sustainability into the business very clearly.
Okay. So our ability to influence the IT landscape, when you say you are only doing testing, you are limited to, you're indirectly influencing outcomes versus doing a bigger portion, you can directly influence the outcome, and relationships at the client's place can become stronger.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Thank you very much. The next question is from the line of Akansha from Shine Jain Broker. Please go ahead.
Yeah, my last question is by financial year 2022, how will the revenue mix look like?
In terms of revenue mix, you are trying to look at in terms of the new offerings?
In terms of sectors.
I think probably for this year, if you look through in terms of travel will continue to be about 15-16%, and we have indicated and provided a method where our BFSI is at about close to 19-20%, travel is about 15-16%, and retail at about 17%. We expect the healthcare to slightly move up and get jacked up a bit, so that should slightly contribute and the others to come down. So on an indicative basis, we expect healthcare to really catch up with BFSI at about 20%. And we expect travel to be at about sub 15%. On a major contribution being BFSI and healthcare, and then comes the retail in a double-digit growth clearly.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question for today. I will now hand the conference over to Mr. Srikanth Chakhilam for closing comment.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining the call. I look forward to giving the updates and progress of the company, and sharing the progress of the company in the next call. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On behalf of Cigniti Technologies Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you. You may now disconnect your lines. Thank you.